Welcome to 514 Sports with Paul Decary. Today is Tuesday, May 18th, 2021. Well, Montreal, spring is here, and the moment we've all been waiting for, the Montreal Canadiens are finally playing the Toronto Maple Leafs in an NHL playoff series. This hasn't happened since 1979. I was 4 years old when this happened, so needless to say, I've got zero recollection of what happened in that series. I do know the Habs did win that series 4-0, sweeping the Leafs for the second consecutive season. They also swept the Leafs in 1978. Actually, if we go back, the last time the Toronto Maple Leafs beat the Canadiens in a playoff game was to win the Stanley Cup in 1967. So you know that chant, 67. Well, unfortunately, that series ended with a victory over the Canadiens. Anyways, really excited to get this series going. We've had to wait a little bit there. Habs' last game was last Wednesday, and they begin on Thursday, May 20th in Toronto. So the first game will be on Thursday. Then after that, Saturday the 22nd, also in Toronto. Back to Montreal Monday the 24th, and then a back-to-back Monday and Tuesday the 25th into Montreal. Let's hope the series is not over by then. I'm not really expecting the Canadiens to sweep the Leafs. Some experts are predicting that the Leafs will sweep the Canadiens, so let's just hope we've got more than 4 games in mind. Speaking of the experts, there's not many people who think the Habs have a chance in this series. The high-powered Leafs are flying. They've got Matthews, they've got Marner, Nylander, Tavares, even Galchenyuk, although he's not sure if he's going to be playing there. The Leafs are a pretty powerful team, but with the Canadiens getting their injuries back, hopefully Philip Deneau can give us a good hand like he did with Connor McDavid throughout the season, and he can take care of the Marners and Matthews and keep them in check. Speaking of 1979, well, just to give you a little idea of how rare this occurrence is, there's one player in the NHL right now who was alive when the Canadiens and the Leafs last met in the playoffs. You guessed it, Zdeno Chara. 44 years old. He was actually 2 years old when these two teams last met. The oldest player on the Leafs is Joe Thornton. He was close. He was born in July 1979, a couple of months after that the Canadiens and the Leafs played for the last time in the playoffs. On the Canadian side, our oldest player is newcomer Eric Stahl, who was born 5 years after this series in 1984. So, 1979, it was the second round. We did beat them in the second round to go on to win the Stanley Cup for the 4th consecutive time, capping out another dynasty for the Canadiens. That was great. All-time playoffs, Montreal against Toronto. The Habs have 42 victories, 29 defeats. You know, it goes back, their first meeting, they've met 15 times in the playoffs. You know, that's a lot, but when you think the Leafs have been around since 1917, it's over 100 years and only 15 times. It's kind of surprising, with the Leafs being in the Western Conference for much of my growing up in the 80s and 90s. That explains a little bit of it. The first time they met was in 1918. It was the NHL Championship, not for the Stanley Cup. The winner of that series went on to play the Pacific Coast champions for the Stanley Cup, whereas the Toronto actually came out on top on that one in aggregate. They did split the series 1 game each, but looking back at soccer terms, 10-7, the Toronto Arenas, they weren't even known as the Maple Leafs just yet. They started becoming the Maple Leafs only in 1927. So the Arenas beat the Canadiens on aggregate. And then the next time they met was in 1925, also the NHL Championship. The Habs did win that series. They did win both games, and on aggregate, they won the series 5-2. In this one, it wasn't the Maple Leafs either. It was the Toronto St. Pats. So the first time the Montreal Canadiens and the Toronto Maple Leafs met in the playoffs was the 1944 NHL semifinals. Not the Stanley Cup Finals, 44 semis. The Habs went on to win that series 4-1. And then we're looking at, like I said, the last time they played in 1979, it was the quarterfinals. The Habs swept them as well. And 78, it was the semifinals. The Habs swept them as well. So we've had some luck against the Maple Leafs. Not in the near past, but the last 2 times we played them. Let's hope this continues starting on Thursday. So last night, the Canadiens had a little bit of a surprise. Not the Canadiens, but the Laval Rocket. The Habs sent down Carey Price and Brendan Gallagher to play for the Rocket, both of them being out for over a month. Price with a concussion and Gallagher with a broken thumb. It was exciting. It must have been exciting for the Rocket players to have these 2 guys in the lineup. But I'm sure if you would have told any Rocket players that you'd be playing with Carey Price and Brendan Gallagher at the Bell Center sometime this year, they'd be ecstatic. They'd be like, oh, wow, I'm getting called up to the Canadiens. Well, this wasn't the case. The Habs... the 2 Canadiens were actually sent down to play for the Rocket. Carey Price, traditionally wearing the number 31 for the Canadiens, was sporting number 30 last night. He played 2 periods. He was scheduled to play half the game. He played 2 periods. Looks like midway through the second, he was called to the bench, and it looks like he kind of told Joel Bouchard, "Sorry, I'd like to finish the period." And I guess they're not gonna argue with our $10.5 million goalie. So Price finished the second period, and Caden Primo came in the third. Little shaky start for Carey. 2 goals in the first 4 shots, but he looked good after that, stopping the final 11 shots. This was Price's first AHL game since the 2007-2008 season, where he played for the Hamilton Bulldogs. Brendan Gallagher also playing the game, sporting the number 17. Gallagher actually wore 17 for Hamilton when he played his last game for the Bulldogs in the 2013 season. Gallagher played about 17 minutes last night, recording 2 shots on net, received a double minor for high sticking in the third period, and was a -1. He actually stated after the game that he played roughly the last 4 minutes of the game as the Rocket were trying to even up the score or score 1 goal, saying Gallagher mentioned that this was the most he's played since his Pee-wee days. So that's quite impressive, 4 minutes in a row for a 30-some-year-old. Anyway, so both of them playing their first games in quite some time. Worked out. Nobody got injured. So not too concerned about the result. It was good to get them back on the ice, and hopefully it'll help in the series against the Leafs. Okay, so let's move on to the 2020-2021 NHL trophy winners. There's been a few that have been decided. Not too many there. The NHL Awards will be held most likely in Vegas after the season ends. But the ones that are awarded, the Jennings, the team allowing the least goals against. The goalie must have played 25 games for the season. This is going to Marc-Andre Fleury and Robin Lehner of the Vegas Golden Knights. Last year's winners were Tuukka Rask and Yaroslav Halak of the Boston Bruins. So congratulations to little local boy Marc-Andre Fleury, who continues to amaze people. I believe he's 36 years old or so. The Art Ross Trophy has also been awarded. That's going to the top point getter. Surprise, surprise, Connor McDavid, 105 points this year. Taking that trophy away from his teammate Leon Draisaitl, who won the award back in 2019-2020. And finally, the other individual trophy that was awarded was the Maurice Rocket Richard Trophy, going to the NHL's top goal scorer this year, which is Austin Matthews, scoring over 40 goals this year. Pretty impressive in a 56-game season. I believe Matthews missed 3 games, so he's down to 53 games. Last year's winner, there was a split between Alexander Ovechkin and Pasternak of the Boston Bruins. Then the last trophy that was given out this week, President's Trophy, NHL leader in points for the regular season. Going this year on the last night of the season, the Colorado Avalanche defeated the Los Angeles Kings in their last game to take the trophy away from the Vegas Golden Knights. They both finished tied with 82 points, but the Avalanche did not have more wins. They had 39 wins. The Golden Knights had 40, but the tie-breaking system is regulation wins. So the Avalanche had more regulation wins than the Golden Knights, so they've got the President's Trophy for this year. Last year's President's Trophy winner, the beloved Boston Bruins. And I'm sure everybody's happy with that. So now we're going to move on to our it seems to be a weekly event, or I'm going to call it the McDavid Minute. Well, we've talked about McDavid on the first 2 podcasts of the season. Just fantastic player. Just a little bit of summary on what he finished with since the season's over. Well, like I said earlier, Art Ross Trophy winner with 105 points in 56 games, averaging out 1.875 points per game. Fantastic season, historic season if you want to look at it that way. In the last 30 seasons, NHL seasons, only one player has averaged more points than 1.875 per game that McDavid recorded this year. That one player, Mario Lemieux. I think we know him here in Montreal, a local boy from Villemard. Mario was amazing, the magnificent Mario. He scored 2.67 points per game in 92-93 season, which ended up with the Habs winning the Cup that year, so we'll take that. 95-96, he ended up with 2.3 points per game, and 91-92, a measly 2.05 points per game. Just for Connor McDavid to be mentioned in the same breath as Mario Lemieux, that's something that he's got to be very proud of, and I'm sure we'll see another 1.8 points per game season from Connor McDavid in the near future. Hopefully. I love watching that guy. So now we're going to in my first two podcasts, I've talked about the negative story of the week. I was looking for a name, and I think I found something. I'm going to call it my midweek Mindbender. Something like Arsenio Hall used to say, things that make you go, Well, this week, it's Cole Caufield. It's not Cole Caufield, sorry. It's the Montreal Canadiens' decision to not dress Cole Caufield to start the playoffs against Toronto this coming Thursday. Caufield has been a spark plug. He's done amazing. You can't ask for much more than what the kid's given us. In 10 games, he's got 4 goals, 2 overtime winners. He's tied in the last 10 games. Only him and Tyler Toffoli have scored the same amount of goals, 4 goals each. No other Canadian has scored more goals in the 10 games that Caufield has played. Yet the Canadiens have decided to go with a more experienced lineup to start the playoffs. Don't understand it. I know experience is supposed to win you playoffs, but you could take out several guys. Yoel Armia, Corey Perry, Paul Byron, Arturi Lehkonen, Eric Stahl, any of these guys. I mean, some of them, Perry I think I would keep in. He had a great playoff last year. He's an asset, but Armia or Byron, I know he had a great game against Edmonton last week, but this is Cole Caufield. This guy is going to score goals. Toronto Maple Leafs will score goals against us. That's for sure. We're not going to win 2-1. We need to score some goals. So I believe my bet would have been take out Eric Stahl, who's been doing nothing, and put Paul Byron at center, and then plug Cole Caufield into the lineup. Anyway, hope this works out there. I'm expecting Caufield to probably be in the lineup by Saturday. I'm thinking hopefully that's what's going on. So far, the playoffs have been amazing. I don't know if you guys have been following it. It's nice to see other games except the North Division. I watched a bit of it over the weekend. They started on Saturday. The first 3 games of the playoffs went to overtime. Washington, Boston, Islanders, Pittsburgh, and Minnesota, Vegas, Saturday and Sunday. Even Tampa Bay on Sunday. That was a great game. Tampa Bay over Florida. I watched most of that game. That was intense. That was playoff hockey. The battle for the Sunshine State. First time ever these two teams have met in the playoffs. That was fantastic. It didn't go to overtime, but Braden Point scored with minute 14 left to give Tampa Bay a 5-4 victory. Just an amazing game. So just to recap for the playoffs here, we've got the Islanders leading Pittsburgh 1-0. Washington and Boston. Boston last night won in overtime, so that series is tied 1-1. Tampa Bay, like I mentioned, is ahead 1-0 over Florida. Carolina won their first game last night over Nashville. Colorado did the same, winning over St. Louis to take a 1-0 lead. Minnesota, like I said, won in overtime 1-0, and they have a 1-0 lead over Vegas. Edmonton and Winnipeg begin tomorrow, Wednesday, and Habs and the Leafs get going on Thursday. I'll give you my predictions for the first round. I did this a couple days ago before the playoffs started, so I'm going to go with Pittsburgh to take down the Islanders, Boston to beat Washington, Tampa Bay over Florida, Carolina to take Nashville down, Colorado over St. Louis, Minnesota to upset Vegas. I've got Edmonton beating Winnipeg, and unfortunately, I'm going to go with most of the experts, and I'm thinking Toronto's going to take the Habs down. I'm hoping the Habs take the game, but I'm not too confident. Anyway, that's it, guys. I hope you guys enjoy the playoffs. Have a great week, and go Habs go. Thank you.